In this video, we are going to understand one interesting concept, that is Project Lombok. As part of this video, we are going to learn what is boilerplate code, how to avoid that boilerplate code by using Project Lombok installation process, several annotations provided by Project Lombok, what are benefits of going for Lombok and what is limitations of Lombok, and conclusion about Project Lombok. Alright, let's get started. Coming to introduction part, what is boilerplate code? The term boilerplate code describes code that is repeated in many parts of an application with a little alteration. Any code, if we are writing at several places of the project, that code can be called as boilerplate code. If we see in Java applications, at several classes we can find that kind of boilerplate code. For example, JDBC programs. JDBC programs we will write to execute database queries from Java application. In the JDBC programs, we will write the several lines of code to load a driver, to get a connection, to create a statement, processing a result set, closing the statements, closing the connections. Same lines of code we will write in several JDBC programs with small changes in queries. The same code we are writing in multiple classes can be called as boilerplate code. Not only that JDBC logic, if we look into our project, several model classes will be there, which are generally we will call as POJO classes, which are used to store the data and get the data. So let me take a simple example with a class called book. This class is having two private variables, which is having one default public constructor, and we can write parameterized constructor also for this class. And for the two variables I am writing setter methods and getter methods, overriding hash code method and equals methods, and overriding toString method. So these many lines of code we are writing for our model class. Similarly, if we go to another model class, which is plan info, here also we are having several variables. In this model class also we are having default constructor, parameterized constructor, getter methods and setter methods for all the variables, hash code method, equals method, and toString method. Similarly, another model class which is product, having some variables, same default constructor, parameterized constructor, setter methods, getter methods, equals hash code and toString methods. If we observe these three model classes, they are having some common piece of logic. Some common lines of code is there, that is setter methods and getter methods for variables, default constructor, parameterized constructors, equals method, hash code method, toString method. This code also we can call as boilerplate code in our Java applications. Now, instead of writing that much boilerplate code in the project, we can replace that by using Project Lombok. Project Lombok main aim is to reduce boilerplate code in our Java applications. To avoid that boilerplate code in our Java applications, or to reduce that boilerplate code in Java applications, Project Lombok provided simple set of annotations for us. So I hope you guys understood what is boilerplate code. Any code which we are writing at multiple places can be called as boilerplate code. That means same code, if we are writing at multiple places, that can be called as boilerplate code. For example, we have seen our model classes with setters, getters, constructors, toString, equals, hash code. This kind of code we can see in almost all model classes. Now we need to avoid that boilerplate code in our classes. For that we can go for Project Lombok. Alright, now let us see how can we use that Project Lombok to avoid the boilerplate code in our model classes. To do that, first we need to install Project Lombok in our system. Now first we need to download project lombok jar file from the website, that is projectlombok.org. So let's go to a website whose name is projectlombok.org. Here we can find a option called download, last option in the menu. Once you click on that, it will give you the option of downloading a jar file. That project lombok jar will be downloaded. I have already downloaded the jar. Here I have that jar with a name called lombok.jar. Fine. Now that lombok jar will be downloaded. I have already downloaded the jar. Here that project lombok, it will give you the option of downloading a jar file. That project lombok jar will be downloaded. I have already downloaded the jar. Here I have that jar with a name called lombok.jar. Fine. Now that jar we need to install by double clicking. If it is not working for double click, then we can execute a command, that is java space -jar space jar file name. This command we can execute by using command prompt. Fine. Now once we execute that command prompt, fine. Now once we execute that command, or if we double click on that jar file, it is going to open lombok installation wizard. Let us try that. I'm double clicking on this jar file. Here it is giving this window for us. By default, it will search for IDEs which are installed in the system to add lombok plugin to our IDE. Even if it is not able to scan for the IDEs, we no need to worry, because we can specify that IDE's location manually by using specify location option. Now click on this option, go to the folder where we have our IDEs. Now I am going to my STS IDE folder, Spring Tool Suite, STS bundle, STS. Here I have a file with a name called sts.exe. Select that, and here we have option called install or update. Let me click on this install or update. So it is giving a message, installation successful. Lombok has installed on the selected IDEs. Now it is saying some instruction. Don't forget to add lombok.jar to your projects. Exit and start your IDE. Rebuild all the projects. So lombok plugin is added to IDE. Even though we need to add that lombok.jar file to project build path, and we need to restart our IDEs, and we need to rebuild all the projects which are there in our IDE. Now I'm quitting this installer. So that means lombok jar file is downloaded, and this lombok jar is installed in our system, and it is added as a plugin to our IDE. Now how can we verify that? Go to our IDE folder, Spring Tool Suite, STS bundle, release, STS. This is the file which I have selected for our IDE. Here you can see that the jar is added, lombok.jar. That means this lombok.jar plugin is added to our Spring Tool Suite IDE. Fine. So this is installation part for our lombok jar. As I told, it will auto scan for IDEs. If it is unable to scan, you can specify that by using this option, specify location. Then you need to click on this option, install or update. Once that is done, you can quit the installer. Fine. So as given the instruction, to use this lombok in our project, we need to add lombok jar to project build path. If you are using a Maven, we need to add this lombok dependency in our project form.xml file. So once we do this, then we can take the benefit of the project lombok for simplifying our model classes in Java applications. Thank you. Next video, I will show you how to use this lombok in our project.
MongoDB is fast becoming an industry trend and is gaining popularity for its powerful query language. No wonder it has been adopted by tech giants like Google, Adobe, Intuit, etc. Do you know that mastering
Hi friends, welcome back. In previous video, we have seen what is Project Lombok and how to install Project Lombok plugin to our Spring Tool Suite IDE. Now, the main purpose of this Project Lombok is to simplify Pojo classes development in Java applications, because in Pojo class we will write some code related to setter methods, getter methods, overriding equals method, hash code methods, and constructors like default constructor and parameter constructor. Same lines of code will be there in several Pojo classes in the project. To avoid that boilerplate code in model classes, we are using Project Lombok now. So in this video, we are going to understand how to use that Project Lombok to simplify Pojo development in Java applications. To simplify that development, Project Lombok provided several annotations for us. Now, let us understand what are those annotations. Now, so when we are developing a model class, several fields will be available. For those fields, we need to generate setter methods, and we need to generate getter methods, override equals method, hash code method, and toString method, add default constructor, and parameter constructor. Instead of we are writing that source code in our model classes, we can take the help of annotations provided by Project Lombok. Now, so there are several annotations provided by the Lombok. The first one, @getter. If you use this annotation at any variable in the Pojo, then getter method will be generated by the Project Lombok at the compilation time. We no need to write the getter method if we use @getter annotation. Similarly, @setter. If we want setter method for a variable, we can go for @setter annotation. If you want both getter and setter for a variable, then we need to use @getter and setter. This @getter or setter or getter and setter you can use at a particular variable level, or you can use at a class level also. If you use at a variable level, that will be applicable for only that field. If you use at the class level, that will be applicable for all the fields available in the Pojo class. Similarly, if you want to generate equals method and hash code method, we have @equals and equals and hash code annotation to generate both equals and hash code. As they are contradictory methods, both need to be overridden in our Pojo classes. Similarly, we want default constructor, that is also called no-arg constructor for our class, then we can use @no-arg constructor. And we have one special annotation, that is @data. If we use @data, then all the above annotations will be, all the above means the annotations which are above to @data annotation in this slide will be available to our class. Instead of writing all the annotations separately, we can simply write an annotation @data, which is equal to getter and setter, equals and hash code, and no-arg constructor. Similarly, we have one more annotation called @cleanup. If we want to close any resources, something like closing a files or nullifying the objects, generally we will write such kind of cleaning activities in the finally block. Instead of we are writing in the finally block, for that variables we can simply use @cleanup annotation. We'll see in our future slides. Alright, we have seen some annotations provided by Project Lombok. Using these annotations, we can simplify our Pojo classes in our Java applications. Now guys, make sure before using these annotations, we need to install Lombok plugin to Spring Tool Suite IDE, and we need to add Lombok jar to project build path. If it is a Maven, we need to add Lombok dependency into our pom.xml. Now, so let's see a simple example. I want getter and setter for a variable. First, if you see at the right side, a Java code we are writing employed boolean variable, name string variable. For that we need to write setter methods, right, for the set employee ID and set name. Similarly, we need to write get employee ID and get name. Or else as it is a boolean, we are using is employee ID. Right, for that, for the name we are using set name and get name. Like this, we need to write setters and getters for the variables. Instead of we are writing the setters and getters for these variables, simply we can use @getter and @setter annotation. Then setter methods and getter methods will be generated by our project lombok. So this is lombok annotated code at the left side, and whenever you use these annotations, equivalent Java source code will be available like this in our .class files. So I hope you understood the difference here. We are writing @getter and @setter. The equivalent code will be look like this. Now, so let us see practically by taking one model class. So here I created a project with lombok. It is a Maven application. First we need to add Maven dependency for the project lombok. Here I added a dependency for project lombok. These dependency details we can find in Maven central repository, that is mvnrepository.com. Now, so if we go for mvnrepository.com, here we can type project lombok. Here we can go to this. Here we can search for project lombok dependency. We can add the dependency in our pom.xml. First we install the plugin to the STS IDE, then we added lombok dependency in our project pom.xml. Then go to this book.java. Here I am having ID and name. I have written the code manually. Now let me remove this, because all the code whatever we have written manually can be generated by project lombok annotations. Now let us see that. I'm removing this code in my book model class. Yes. Now let us write @setter annotation. And before writing, let us see this model class. Now go to package where this class is there, book, expand this. Here book is there, see the outline of the book. In the book currently we can see ID and name. Now let me add @setter annotation, which is from lombok setter. Save it. Now you can see in the book outline, set ID, set name methods got added. So see the beauty of the lombok. With a single annotation, I am able to generate setter methods for all the variables in a class. Suppose if I write private string ISBN, save it. Automatically that setter method got generated for new variable. Similarly, I want getter methods. Let us add @getter annotation. Save it. See the beauty. Here getter method is generated for all the variables.
Hey everybody, if you have a goal you're trying to accomplish, check out Udemy. Udemy is an online learning platform.
Hi friends, welcome back. In previous video we have seen how to generate setter methods and getter methods for variables in Pojo class. Similarly, in Pojo class we will override equals method and hash code method. Now instead of we are writing equals and hash code methods on our own, we can use the annotation provided by lombok. Now, so let us open one Pojo class. So here I am taking a Pojo class with a name called plan info. Here we are writing several variables in this class. Here I am writing default constructor, parameterized constructor, setters, getters, hash code method, equals method, and toString. Instead of we are writing all these things, we can use annotations provided by lombok. Now, so as discussed earlier, I added a dependency for lombok in our pom.xml. Then go to model class. Let us add. Before adding, first let us see the outline of the plan info model. Now this is my plan info class outline. I am opening. Just we are having variables. Let us add @setter. Now we can see that for all the variables setter methods got added. Similarly, I want a getter for that. @getter annotation. Now we can see that for all variables getter methods got generated. Now, So along with the setter and getter, I want to add equals and hash code. So for this we can go for @equals and hash code annotation. Now see the outline. Here we can see hash code method got generated, and here we can see that hash code method got generated and equals method also got generated. If we want to validate that, if we want to verify, go to my app class. Here we can create the object for our Pojo plan info. P info is equal to new plan info. Now plan info dot set, all the setter methods are there, get, all the getter methods are there. Now let me set one value, plan id 101. P info dot set plan name, which is snap. P info dot set plan status, which is approved. Now let us try to print this object, system.out.println of object reference p info. Now let us try to execute, run as Java application. Now here we can see that plan info object reference is printing. Why it is printing the reference? Because in our class we added only setter, getter, equals and hash code, but we did not add a toString. So when our class doesn't have a toString, JVM is calling superclass toString method. What is a superclass for our model class here? Object class is a superclass. Now suppose I want to write a toString method. Generally we can write a toString method, right click, source, generate toString. Now click on, these are the fields I want in the toString, click on generate. Then we added a toString method in our model class. Now let us execute this my app, run as Java application. Now we can see our class data is displaying because we are overriding toString. Now do we really need to write the toString in our class? No. Lombok is providing one annotation for us, which is @toString, right? @toString. Save it. Now go to outline of our class. Here we can see that toString method got added to our class because of this @toString annotation. Now go and execute this run as Java application. Now we can see our class toString method is printing. How toString method is added to our model class? With lombok support, @toString. So we added @setter, @getter, @equals and hash code, and @toString. What is the purpose of @setter? To generate the setter methods for all the variables. @getter annotation used to generate getter methods for all the variables. I am adding these two annotations at the class level. What do you mean by that? These two are applicable for all the variables available in the class. If I want for particular variable, at the variable level also we can use @setter and @getter annotations. And @equals and hash code, it is a class level annotation which will generate equals method and hash code method for our model class. @toString is also a class level annotation which is used to include toString method for our model class. Now do we really need to write all these annotations? No. Lombok provided one beautiful annotation with that is @data. First, now see here, I removed all those annotations from my model class. Now you can see that in the outline of the class only these variables are there. Go to my app. Here I am calling setter methods. Do we have the setter methods in our class? No, because we removed the Lombok annotations. That's why setter methods also got removed from our class. Now I want to add setter methods, getter methods, toString, equals, hash code. Then which annotation we can use? Lombok provided one annotation, that is @data. If I add @data, now you can see in the outline of the class, these are variables of our class. This is default constructor, equals method, getter methods got added, setter methods got added, hash code method is added, toString method is also added. That means this is single annotation is equal to multiple annotations in the Lombok. Now go to my app. Now those compilation errors got removed because setter methods are available to our model class. How those methods got added to our model? that is done by @data annotation. Now execute our class, run as Java application. Now we can see we are able to set the data and we are able to get the data. So that is about @data annotation. Now, so we have seen equals and hash code annotation for our model class. Similarly, we have seen @data. So the data annotation is likely the most frequently used annotation in the project lombok toolset, because most of the classes require setters, getters, equals, hash code, toString methods, default constructors. Instead of we are writing all those lines of code in our model classes, simply we can annotate our model by using @data. Then it will add all the required methods and methods for our model classes. This data annotation combines the functionality of toString, equals and hash code, @getter, @setter, and no arg constructor also. Fine. So this is a very much useful annotation for our plain old Java objects in our Java applications.
Do you want to learn the high-level design of ride-sharing apps like Uber, Lyft, and more? Don't worry.
Hi friends, welcome back. In previous video, we have seen some annotations like @getter, @setter, @equals and hash code, @data. So similarly, we have few more annotations in the lombok, that is no arg constructor and all arg constructor. Now suppose let us see no arg constructor. Now when we add that constructor, we can see that no arg constructor got generated for our model class. Now anyhow, that default constructor will be generated by our Java compiler. We can verify that by using Java profiler, Java p command. But that is not that much important, because anyhow default constructor will be generated. Suppose let us think about, I want to write a constructor for my class with all these variables. That means we need to write a parameterized constructor for all these variables. Now, so generally how can we write that? We can go for right click, source, generate, constructor using fields. These are all the fields that I want to use in my parameterized constructor. Now click on generate. So see here, now we are able to generate parameterized constructor with all the fields of our class. Now almost 10 to 20 lines of code got added here. Instead of we are writing this constructor, we can use one annotation provided by lombok, that is all args constructor. Now you can guess what is the meaning of this all args constructor, which is used to generate a constructor with all the variables for our model class. Now you can see here in the outline, plan info, integer, string, date, string double. These are all the variables that added to our parameterized constructor. Now is it really added? We can validate that. Go to my app class, try to create the object for our model class plan info. Info is equal to new plan info. Now you can observe that now we have a constructor with all these fields. So we can generate a parameterized constructor for our model class by using annotation called all args constructor. Now, when parameterized constructor is added for our class, default constructor will not be added by Java compiler. Now suppose I want default constructor as well as parameterized constructor for my model class, then you can go for no args constructor. Now first constructor is used to generate parameterized constructor with all the fields for the model. Second annotation is used to generate default constructor for the model. Now we can validate that in our plan info outline. Here you can see 0 param constructor is added, that is no args constructor, and all args constructor is also added for this one. So I hope you understood how to generate no args constructor and parameterized constructor for our model classes by using project lombok. Thank you.
Preparing for your IELTS can be confusing, right? Especially if you have a 9-to-5 job like I do.
Hi friends, welcome back. In earlier videos we have seen what is project lombok, how to install the project lombok, what are several annotations provided by Project Lombok. Now, in this video, we are going to summarize our Project Lombok, like what are several benefits of going for Lombok, what are the limitations of the Lombok, and several information related to the Lombok. Now, so as we are going with any technology, the technology will have some positives and some negatives. Similarly, Lombok is also having some positives and negatives. Positives already we have seen. We can simplify POJO classes in our Java applications using annotations provided by Lombok. We can avoid lot of boilerplate code in our Java applications in our modular classes by using Project Lombok. Now, so coming to limitations or cost of this Lombok. Suppose if we are using any object relational mapping or frameworks to perform the persistency layer, then we will use either XML files or annotations to map our Java classes to database tables. I mean to say, we are going to create entity classes in our applications to perform persistency layer. Now the question, how to map a Java class to database table? Either XML files or we can use annotations also to do that. If I use annotation in the entity class, several annotations we need to write like entity, table, ID, column, generated value, sequence generator, like that. If I use Lombok also for that entity, then the entity classes are going to contain so many annotations, then people may feel confused about all these annotations in the Lombok. So that one thing we can say that is the cost of the Lombok. Coming to advantages, we can simplify the development of POJO classes or entities. Next, what is missing? Can you guess what is missing here? Source code is missing. We are using annotations provided by Lombok, but can you see that source code? No, we are unable to see the source code in our Eclipse IDE, but we are able to access that setter methods, getter methods, toString and constructor, but with our eyes we are not able to see that source code. Now, when that source code is getting generated, that source code will be generated at the time of compilation. That means in the dot class files, the Lombok generated code will be available. I want to see that source code in my entity class or model class. Then Lombok provided a concept called dlombok. Dlombok utility for replacing the Lombok annotations with equivalent source code. This can be done for entire source directory via the command line. Now we need to go to our project folder. There we need to execute a command java jar lombok.jar dlombok src, that is our source folder. -d represents a directory, src dlombok. With this command, what will happen? Wherever Lombok annotations are there, it is going to replace with the equivalent Java code for those model classes. Now, so whatever is missing in the entity class or model class, we can generate the equivalent source code by using dlombok. Now, limitations. One of the limitation in Lombok is if we add @data annotation to a class, it is going to generate setters, getters, no arg constructor, equals a hash code and two string methods. Let us think a scenario. Our class is having a super class which doesn't have a default constructor. Then Lombok cannot be used for that. If our class is having @data, that means it is going to generate a no arg constructor for that. At the same time, our class's super class also should contain the default constructor or zero arg constructor. If that is not there, then we cannot use this @data at our model class. This is one of the limitation on the Lombok. Now, controversy. Number of issues have been raised against the use of Project Lombok. The most common argument is Sun Microsystem told that annotations are used for metadata, which is something like information about the information. But here we are using annotations provided by Lombok to generate the source code. That is the actual, not the purpose of the annotations provided by the Sun Microsystem. This is one of the controversy which is running now. Coming to summary. Project Lombok is a powerful tool for programmatic developers. It provides a set of useful annotations for eliminating a tremendous amount of boilerplate code from our Java classes. In the best case, a mere 5 characters can replace hundreds of lines of code. Can you guess what are those 5 characters? @data. That @data annotation is generating so many things for our model classes. That means that 5 lines of code, 5 lines of characters are doing the magic for our model classes. If I use that annotation, the result of the Java classes that are clean, concise, and easy to maintain. So we can find more information about the project Lombok using the given URL projectlombok.org. Thank you. Please subscribe to my channel for more videos. Signing off.